All right, good evening, everyone. We are so glad that you all are here. What an exciting time. Welcome to everyone. We should be live on Facebook. I went ahead and shared it out. So this evening we are doing Create a Reoccurring Income Business with Heather Steele. Heather is the founder and CEO of Blue Steel Solution and the Problem Solver Method. And Heather started her branding and communications company 9 years ago before she was tired of seeing great companies and great people fail just because they couldn't clearly communicate their value. Heather's companies help people create clear, concise, and actionable marketing messages through consulting and brand services and premium ebook and templates. So we are going to jump right in. If you have a question, you can put it in the chat box and send it privately to Tracy. Tracy Irby is going to house all of the questions, and then she will share those at the end with Heather to answer them. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump right in. Heather, take us away.
Awesome. Let me get set up here to share. Now this is going to be a little different for me because if you've ever been to one of my talks, you know I like to walk around a lot and I like to ask a lot of questions and get feedback. So I'm going to do the best I can with basically talking to myself here. If y'all will bear with me, we'll make it as smooth and awesome for everybody as we can. Okay. Do you want to just confirm that you can see my slides there?
You're good.
Perfect. So today we're going to be talking about working on creating a recurring revenue business. Some of you are going to already be at that stage, and so I try to include some nuggets that you'll be able to take away. But I'm really going to be speaking to people who have a product or a service, but they haven't quite thought about making it recurring. So for anyone who doesn't know, before we go further, what we're talking about by a recurring revenue business, we mean that you're able to sell a service or a product to someone and then continue to resell to them every month or every quarter or whatever that may look like for your business. So one effort of sale brings you recurring income into the future. If that's not clear, go ahead and shoot Tracy a message because I want to make sure everybody understands what we're talking about before we go forward, and then she can jump in and let me know if I need to back up a little bit. Here. Oh, here we go. Okay, so during our time today, I'm hoping that you'll come away understanding why it is super, super important that you create a recurring revenue model immediately. Like tomorrow, you start working on figuring out how you're going to get recurring revenue in your business. I also want you to come away with some ideas of what that thing is that you're going to sell, and then how you can position your offering. So how can you make people think this is something that I need to pay my money for? So why recurring revenue is key. If you don't already know, recurring revenue is really one of the fastest ways to build value into your business. So you could ask any exit planner, anyone that's looking to buy a business, or anyone that funds businesses, and they're going to tell you that recurring revenue is one of the key things that they look for to see if there's value in that business. Now, if you're just getting started, then you may not be thinking about trying to sell your business or even letting someone else run it. But ultimately, you're going to want to get away from this 80-hour work week that most of us start with and let someone else take over, whether that's selling or having a manager or someone else that's coming in to help you run that business. And creating a recurring revenue model is going to be one of the fastest ways to let you do that. You're going to be able to take a step back and enjoy your life and enjoy the business that you've created while other people are able to run it or pay you for it. So one of the reasons that recurring revenue really is a great way to build value into your business is because you get a higher return on effort. So I mentioned that in the beginning that, you're putting in the effort to make a sale, why not get money back from that every single month or every quarter or every year, however often your product or service is able to renew? So earlier today, I actually listened to an interview with Mike, I think it's Makowicz. I never really understood how to pronounce his last name, but he's the author of a book called Profit First. Now, if you've never read Profit First, I want you to write a note down right now. Just write down Profit First and go buy that book. Buy it in hard copy or audiobook, and don't do anything else in your business until you've read the first chapter, because there's some gold in there in how you can make a profitable business from day one. But in this interview, Mike, who is kind of like the expert in profitable businesses, he talked about these layers to your business and what order you should address them in. So if things aren't going right in an existing business, or if you're building a new business, he has this approach to the layers and when you should worry about each thing. The first layer, the foundation of any business, is sales. And then the next layer on top of that is profitability. So adding recurring revenue products, things that you can sell once and get money back on over and over and over, those are going to immediately increase your revenue. They're going to increase those sales. And over time, you'll become much more profitable because you're selling the same thing. It's something that you can create a process around. You're doing the same actions to deliver on it over and over and over. And so you're able to reduce your cost of goods. You're able to be much more efficient. And so it becomes so much healthier for your business to have these offerings. Now, I want to put in the caveat that you don't need to stop selling one-off services or products. We're talking about adding in something that's going to give you that recurring revenue. So don't feel like you need to just stop any one-off products or services. That's not what we're saying. We want you to consider how you can add these recurring revenue items in. See, here's where I would normally stop and be like, does anyone have a question? But we'll do that at the end. So in case what I've said already here isn't convincing you, I put together some super simple math, and hopefully I did these calculations correctly, or I'll be embarrassed, but you guys can just be nice and not call me out on it. So let's say you have a $25 product or a $5 subscription that you can sell, right? So we'll talk later about what those might be, but let's just look at these numbers. So you have a $25 one-off product or a $5 a month subscription. Now let's assume you can sell one of those every single week. So if we look at the products, we're selling basically $100 a month of product. So over 3 months, we've sold $300 worth of product. It's $100 each month. Our $5 subscription is compounding, right? So we start with 20 a month because we've sold 4 of them if there's 4 weeks in the month. And then in month 2, we sell 4 more. So we've got our 4 from month 1 and then our 4 from month 2. And then we continue to compound that. Now, at first, it looks like the $25 product is the way to go because those sales totals are a lot more than our subscription. But if we expand this out into the not so long term, we can start to see a huge difference in the impact to your business. So that $25 product that we're selling once and never selling anything to those people again, after a year, we've sold $1,200 worth of product. After 2 years, $2,400. But look at the subscription. Because that's compounding and those people are paying us every single month, we get a huge boost in revenue. So this is why it's so important that we have those compounding, renewable or recurring products and services that we can sell. Now, I know that you're going to have churn. Some people are going to cancel their subscription. Not everyone that buys is going to stick around forever. So over time, that number might not look as pretty as we see here. But you've also got to consider, like we talked about before, you're getting more and more efficient in delivering this because it's the same thing over and over every month or every quarter or however often you're renewing it. So you're able to reduce your cost of goods sold and become much more efficient. So your cost of doing business is lower, your profitability goes through the roof. So that's why I think it's super important for every single business to have a recurring revenue model. Especially, you know, a lot of times I think people think, well, I'm just getting started and I have this thing I can make, or I have, you know, this recipe that's really great and everybody loves my bread, so I'm just going to sell, you know, one-off loaves of bread at the market. It's really easy to think that it wouldn't apply to you. But whether you are in day 1 or day 1,000 of your business, it is absolutely necessary that you find a way to get these recurring revenue items into your offering. Otherwise, you're going to be stuck in this sales cycle of you never make money unless you make a sale. I'll tell you, there's a lot of things I love about my business. I love being able to help people. I love seeing business owners be really successful and get their messaging right. I love doing events like this where, you know, I get to teach people the things that I know. But more than all of that, I love waking up in the morning and looking at my email and seeing that I have all of these payment confirmations, because everyone that's subscribes to my website to get access to my ebooks, everyone that's on my ongoing maintenance policies, they're all paying on an auto renewal every month. And so literally every single day, I have invoices that have been automatically paid while I was sleeping, or while I was out with my kids, or while I was teaching people how to do things in their business. So it's really, I hope that that drives it home enough that you guys are convinced that you absolutely have to find a way to get these items into your business. So that brings us to, what in the heck should we even be selling? The first thing I want to encourage you to do is keep it simple. So the fastest way to fail is to try to get too big and too wide and too complex too fast in your business. So don't assume that you're going to have to start over with your business model. Like I said, almost any business can add recurring revenue opportunities. I'm going to share just a couple of ideas here in a minute, and then I'm hoping at the end we'll have time to come back and really do some deep dives into a couple of your businesses and maybe come up with some ideas. But think about, you know, first of all, if your product is consumable, then that's like, oh, automatically you can just ship them or deliver them the product every month or quarter or however often it runs out. So if you have a consumable product, then you should be doing recurring subscriptions or recurring revenue model today. There's no reason not to. But for a lot of us that don't, it can be a little more difficult if our product is something that can't be, you know, consumed and used up, and then we need to replenish it. So some things that you can do are maybe offer a variety of similar products and services. So if you're selling one core thing, what are some varieties where, you know, you can maybe bring other things to the table? So if you're an author and you've written one book, people aren't going to want to re-buy that same book every single month. But they may want to buy access to premium articles, or they may want to buy access to your curated favorite books that you're drop shipping to them. So think about some things that are maybe variety or different relevant services and products that you can add on and deliver over and over. If you have a service, or maybe even you know, like a large product that's something that is difficult for a consumer or someone to maintain or manage on their own, then you should be offering maintenance services. You should be offering a warranty. You should have some kind of ongoing hand-holding of, you know, this is kind of complicated and this is not easy, so let me stay in the loop and you pay me a little bit of money each month to be there when things go wrong or when things break. And within that, you know, don't forget that you can always add enhancements and upgrades to those recurring offerings. So as you get on your way and you've got people that are subscribing and you're sending them product or you're providing ongoing services to them, don't forget that you can also continue to upgrade them. So be sure that you have a plan in place for how you'll do that once you get your feet under you. Now, the positioning of your product, we're going to get more into here in just a few minutes. But to figure out what it is that you're actually going to sell, I want to really encourage you to think about how your existing products and services solve problems for your customers. If your product doesn't solve a specific problem, then it's going to be really difficult to sell, especially as a recurring offering, right? If someone's going to give you their credit card number, or they're going to commit to paying you, sending you a check every month, they need to know exactly what problem you're going to be solving for them. If you can't identify that, then it's going to be very difficult to get people to buy from you. And again, we'll give some examples and we'll go through this more in depth here in just a few minutes. Another thing that's going to help you really identify what's going to be easiest for you to sell and for you to provide the best value is to look at how you're uniquely qualified to solve this problem. So between your life experiences, your views on the world, your values, maybe just your unique way of delivering the solution, those are all things that you could consider into how you are uniquely qualified to solve the problem for your customers. Sorry, little break here. I'm in my garage right now and it's really hot. So if you guys see me drinking a lot of water, it's because I'm hiding out in my garage because it's the only quiet place in my house with kids. So if I start to look a little sweaty, that's why. So let's go through a couple of examples. I looked at who was going to be attending and I tried to pull some examples of how they could use these ideas to add some recurring revenue models to their business. So the first one I have is Kim with Salted Sanctuary. And the problem that I think she addresses is that everyone needs to take a few minutes for themselves to focus on their own health and well-being every single day, but very few of us actually make the time for it. A great way to care for yourself is to use high quality bath products that not only provide an amazing aromatherapy, but are also really good for your skin and your body. But as we know, getting access to these products isn't always easy. It's not like you can just run down to Target and pick them up, unless she's gotten into Target, which wouldn't surprise me. But you can't always just go pick them up at your normal stores. You're gonna have to go out of your way and go to a market or go to a special event or remember to order them in advance. Now, Kim may already be doing this because she's super smart and it wouldn't be very surprising to me at all. But if she's not, she should offer a monthly or quarterly subscription box where she can guarantee that people will get one soap, maybe a bath salt and a shampoo bar that are from a variety of their favorite scents and styles. But then maybe she also gives them the opportunity to upgrade and include in their first order, they maybe get one of her cute soap dishes. And then going forward, they get a first look sample at all of her newest products she's working on. So Kim is uniquely qualified to offer this because I know that she developed her products because of her own allergies to chemicals and things that are in your typical body care items. So she understands her customers like no one else could because she's been there. She knows that if they go out and they buy some junky thing from Target, it's gonna make them feel terrible. So she's not only uniquely qualified to be able to offer this, she's got a great option for putting together a monthly or quarterly subscription box that people can put a credit card on file and then she can ship or deliver. So she'll have to let me know later if she's offering that or not. But I think that's a great way that someone who has a product like Kim's Salted Sanctuary soaps would be able to get some recurring revenue into their business. Now, thinking a little bit more outside of the box, I didn't write the name down, but I saw that there is someone who is registered, and I hope she's here, who is a speech language pathologist. She also, I did a little snooping on her Facebook profile. She also is a Disney travel consultant. So this person already probably has a recurring revenue model as a speech language pathologist because usually they're seeing their clients, once or twice a week. And so she's got that side on lockdown. But as a travel agent, that's kind of harder, right? Like to have a recurring model for how are you going to get money from your travel agent clients every single month or quarter or however often. So an idea I had with her is thinking about the times that I've traveled with my young children. It wasn't fun or easy sometimes. And whether it was our cross-country trips to Disney or just an hour in traffic to go see the grandparents, the kids aren't always our best car companions. So I was thinking this SLP, she probably has a lot of experience with childhood development. So what if she offered her travel agency clients a subscription to fun and interactive games that are made to be played in the car or on an airplane, or, you know, could really be used anywhere, even like in a doctor's office waiting room. And those games are specifically designed to help kids develop their language skills. So she can take her target market of her Disney travel people who probably have young kids, most people that go to Disney do, and offer them a very unique opportunity to turn their travel time into something that's going to help their children develop their language. Now, she's one of the only people that could do this because she's got this unique skill set of being a speech pathologist and a travel planner. So it makes her an ideal person to offer this. No one else is going to be able to come into the market and say, oh, no, you know, we're better because we're a better fit or we more closely understand the problem. Nobody's going to be better at it than her. So those are a couple of examples. Again, I hope we'll have some time at the end to come back and go into some others, but those were two that I pulled to talk about today. So once you know what you're going to sell, you need to know how to position it. And when we talk about positioning, I could go on for like literally 3 or 4 hours talking about your marketing plan and your communication plan and how you're going to get in front of customers, but we don't have that much time. So we're going to focus in on positioning, which is really how are you talking about what you do when you're talking to prospects or when you're writing your content for your website or you're posting on social media. How are you talking about your offering in a way that people actually care and want to learn more about? Okay, I'm going to take a quick drink of water and then we'll get into this. So over the past decade, my company has helped thousands of businesses with this problem of positioning their products and services. We've learned a lot about how to effectively communicate and make those people want to buy. And so we developed a content framework that's called the problem solver method. This framework breaks everything down into little bite-sized chunks of communication that can be offered through any form of content, social media, or even just when you're directly talking to customers. So I don't have time to go through every single piece of the framework today, but I'm going to highlight some of the key areas for you so you can understand how to apply it to what you're selling. So first, we need to establish one thing. No one cares about your business. Seriously. Not even your mama. So what do people actually care about? You should probably know this answer if you've been paying attention. They care about winning. They care about how you can help them solve their problems. Don't spend the precious few moments that you have when someone hits your website, opens your email, or even when you meet people in person. Don't waste that time talking about yourself. Everything that you say must be framed around how you can help them solve their problems and win at life. Otherwise, they are not going to be interested. They will actually probably feel a little bit threatened and they will be gone. They'll either tune you out, they'll leave your website, they won't pay attention to what you're posting. So how do we do that? How do we speak directly to people in a way that matters to them? Now, I'm going to try not to get too technical here, but just hang in there with me. Y'all are all probably smarter than me, so you may be able to correct some of my science here. But from what we know about how the brain works, this is why it's so important to follow this framework that we've put into the problem solver method. So there's 3 parts of the brain that we use for different activities. So science people will know they all kind of intermesh, but for the purposes of making it really simple, primarily our neocortex, which is kind of this front area, is responsible for planning, concepts, and abstract thinking. Our midbrain, or our limbic system, is responsible for social and emotional thinking. And then we have this basal ganglia, which is kind of this little stump up here at the back. Some people call it the croc or the reptilian brain. All it's responsible for is survival. So new situations, deciding on fight or flight, very simple things. This part of the brain is like a simple processor or a gatekeeper for what information moves through to those more advanced parts of the brain, the midbrain and the neocortex. So that's where the processing really happens. But first we have to get past the gatekeeper back here who's old and curmudgeoned and doesn't understand what's going on. This part of the brain can't handle any abstract ideas. So it's going to interpret new ideas or complicated concepts as a threat. It has a very short attention span, and it's constantly like scanning the environment and looking for anything that's going to help it survive. But because it has this minimal processing power, it's only going to pick up on things that are clearly going to help it. So the problem is when we talk about our business, when we talk about how we help people or we talk about our products, especially on websites, I don't know why we do this, but we go with this abstract, big thinking, kind of cute and clever ideas, which seems smart, right? It's coming from our neocortex. But the message is being received by this old crotchety brain back here that doesn't understand what we're saying. It assumes that everything we're saying is either a threat or just a complete waste of calories, and it's not going to process it. It's going to shut down the perception of that message immediately. If you're spending your time talking about how great you are, your experience, things that are really only about you and not the problem you can solve, then not only are you shutting that down immediately, but you've also become a threat. So the good news is it's very simple to get around this. We just have to be extremely clear about the problems that we can solve for people. We got to cut the cute and clever and go immediately for a simple, straightforward message of what problem our product or service solves. Now we talk about this basal ganglia looking for ways of survival, and you might think, well, my product has nothing to do with survival. But we can think a little further outside of the box in that, right? It's not just shelter and food. We're also looking at what are some ways that your product helps make people's lives easier, makes them happier, makes them feel safer, accepted, loved by their friends and neighbors. So think a little more outside of the box than just true, I'm alive or dead, to those things that are very important to our survival as human beings. Now, the first way that this is going to be a lot easier for you is if you're segmenting your audience. And I think most of us think of segmenting your audience as like demographics, like this is where they live and this is how old they are and how much money they make. But finding your niche, finding that segment of your audience that's really going to understand how your product or service is going to help them, it's about more than those key demographics. So everyone that's in your audience, the initial people that you're trying to sell to, they should all have the same problem. They should be feeling the same pain so that you can clearly address that pain. From there, if you're doing ads or messaging, you can get more sophisticated with targeting based on those demographics. But coming right out of the gate, we're going to start very small and simple. We're not going to try to create a product or a service that helps every single person in the world. We're going to get real niche, so specific that it really kind of hurts. Like it feels like we're not going to be able to sell this to enough people. Getting that specific is going to help you get your messaging extremely on point, and then you can start to broaden and add messaging for other audiences along the way. So don't worry about, feeling like your messaging or the people that you're trying to write your content for are too small. We want to be very specific, especially when we're asking people to give us money over and over and over and over again. We have to speak directly to the problem that they're feeling and exactly how we can solve it. So by now, you should get the point, right? You have to solve a problem. And then state that problem very clearly in your website header, on your social media, your profiles, and your emails. Everywhere that you're talking about your products and services, you should very clearly state the problem that you solve. And remember, clear and simple is always better than cute and clever. I know how hard that is. I like coming up with cute little taglines and fun things, but most of the time they just don't work. So an example of how you can use this approach. Most of you probably know Randy Skinner. She's pretty well known around Denton. She's a friend and colleague of mine, and we just developed a course to help people set up a cold calling plan for their business. Nobody likes cold calling. It's rough. So our headline is literally, cold calling really sucks, but it works. We've made it easier and maybe even fun. And that's how we're positioning that product throughout all of our social media and landing pages. We're addressing the problem of cold calling is no fun. It sucks. People are going to hang up and be mean to you, and you're going to feel not so great about it. But the good thing is we have a solution. Our course is going to make it not so bad. We're going to help you figure out how it works, and you might even have some fun along the way. So the next piece to your puzzle here, and typically on a website, this would be just the next section, or if you're, again, social media and email, this can be different messages that you're using. You can definitely take the framework and kind of pick and pull pieces of it to use throughout your messaging. We call it the bigger problem. So here's where we really need to drive home that you understand your customer's pain. You might feel a little icky about this at first, but you're going to have to paint a picture of what life looks like to your customers if they don't use your solution. So for your recurring revenue product, how does this help them solve their problem? But also, if they don't, what does that look like? What's the bigger problem that people are going to have if they're not buying into this? So going back to that cold calling course, here's an example of some things that we remind our customers about in our sales page and on our emails. So we say, growing a business is hard work. Without a solid sales pipeline, your business will struggle. Waiting for leads to come in on their own is not a strategy. And without a sales outreach plan, your business will struggle to grow. It's not warm and fuzzy, but it helps them understand that we feel the specific pain that they're feeling. And it helps them see that if they don't take action now, their situation will get worse. Now, a lot of people don't like to go negative in their marketing and in their content, but I encourage you to paint that picture. Do it in a way that has dignity and that's respectful, but don't be afraid to paint that picture of what life is going to look like if they don't take the action that you know they really need to take, which is buying your product and service. And then we come back to that unique value that we talked about before. So when you can demonstrate that you are uniquely qualified to help your very specific audience, you're going to build trust. They're going to feel like, because you've been down the path or you've had life experiences that are similar to theirs, they're going to feel like you're a kindred spirit and that you guys are in this together. So this is where you can make that emotional connection. It's clear. You have kind of a single problem statement that made it through the neocortex. Now we're into, that made it through the old part of the brain and into the neocortex. So now we can get a little bit deeper. We can talk about our common beliefs and life experiences and values, because now we've made it, right? We're to the part of the brain that can understand it. And these people are going to go, oh, wow, like this person gets me. They are of my own blood. We are going to be great friends, and I am going to give them my money. So going back to our cold calling example, we have a headline that says, developed by a sales expert and a cold calling hater. I'm the cold calling hater, by the way. So then we go on to say, that's right, the team behind this course is like no other. So again, we're uniquely qualified. We're like no other. Randy Skinner has been killing it with outbound sales for over 15 years, and Heather Steele is a reluctant cold caller who understands the fear and anxiety around picking up the phone. Again, we're connecting with them. We feel you, we understand your pain. And then this is where we're also showing that empathy of like, you're not alone. We've been through this, but we have a way out. So no other sales course that we've found is positioned this way. People don't address that very specific pain that most people feel around cold calling. And they definitely aren't coming out and saying, yeah, we know it sucks, but something you ought to try for your business and we're going to make it easier. This is really odd not to be able to ask questions or get any kind of feedback, guys. But like I said, there's a few other pieces to the framework. Maybe we can touch on that in some of the Q&A. But those are the most important parts. So when you're creating a recurring revenue product, really anything you're selling in your business, it's very important that you position it well so that people understand exactly how you're going to help them solve a problem, what life would look like if they don't solve that problem with your solution, and why you, of all the providers, are uniquely qualified to help them. Those three things are going to help you to make a connection and get people to push that buy button. Now, I wanted to have the time to go into some detail on how you can actually set this up, how you can create a store or a shopping cart or some sort of solution. We just don't have time for that because there's literally a million different ways. But I will say that the simplest thing you can do is set up a PayPal account, and you can set up recurring invoicing right through there. You don't have to have any kind of sophisticated shopping cart. You don't have to have a fancy website. You can go right to PayPal. You'll have to pay a little bit of fees when people process their credit cards, but it is a great way to just get started. Now, if you're ready to get more sophisticated, there are definitely a ton of solutions out there, but just pick something, figure out how you're going to return it into a recurring model, and get out there and start selling it. That's all I have for y'all. It's so quiet. This feels very strange. I do have a free marketing email course if you guys want to jot down that URL. It's just bit.ly/TWUgrant. We offered this the last time that I spoke to one of the groups from TW, and it was really helpful. That course is going to help you with positioning who your audience is, what it is that you're selling, and how to talk about it. So I think it's a really helpful way to get yourself moving.
Great, thanks, Heather. So Tracy, we'll go ahead and start with the questions from you.
Okay, great. We have several questions for you. The first one's from Cindy. She wanted to know, what if your business model is only for a year up to a certain event, a wedding, for example? They can sign up for 1 year, but after the event is complete, they cancel it. Any suggestions here? She feels like she would constantly have to be getting new customers for it to make any money.
So I'm assuming that this is some kind of wedding planning or maybe like an invitation management or something like that.
Correct.
I think there are some great ways that you could keep that recurring. You could definitely look at partnering with people who offer similar services that go further into the life stages so that you can either resell access to their offering, or something really simple that I would probably look into is after the wedding, collecting digital copies of all of their favorite photos from their photographer, and then setting up, once a quarter or once a year even, that you select a handful of those and create a photo book. You can really automate that system of use a vendor to create a photo book and have it automatically sent out to them as something that's keeping that very important day in their memory, and allowing them to have access to it over and over. Another thing that you could think about doing, with partnering with other people would be as they get to the other life stages, you're able to offer solutions that help with, pregnancy announcements and childbirth announcements and kids invitations. One other idea would be that you have a very low cost entry point to anniversary gift ideas. I think people run out of ideas really quickly, and having something that just alerts you when the anniversary is coming up and gives you some really good ideas. You could actually even make that free and just use affiliate links so that you get commission on anything that people buy from there.
Great, very helpful. The next one is from Linda, and it was, how simple should you start with a subscription with product?
As simple as possible. So the more simple, the easier it's going to be to explain, to get people on board, and to actually deliver. The more complicated that you make it, the more difficult your life's going to be in selling and actually delivering that item. But just make sure that it does solve a problem and that you have some sort of unique value involved there. If it's the same old thing that they can get from anywhere else on the street, then you're going to have your price driven down by the market. The more you can be unique and offer something that really no one else is doing because of your unique experience or way of delivering it, the more likely you are to be able to control the price and keep it in a place that's profitable for you.
Okay, great. Great. Several of the questions are regarding like what types of service or product or what they should be selling. But Kimberly did ask, and I know you had mentioned some of this, but I'm going to combine this with another question. She did ask what avenue is best for setting this up, and you did talk about that. And I know she uses Square, and someone mentioned another company as well. And then the question kind of going along with this is what goes first, the website or the app?
I don't know if they mean developing an app, but start simple. Use someone else's platform if you can. Start with PayPal or an invoicing software or Shopify or something that already exists, and set up your products for sale there before you ever think about trying to build on your own platform. Unless you've got a lot of money to throw at it, you don't need to be developing a custom website or developing a custom app. And I say that as someone that gets paid to develop custom websites. Take one step at a time. Don't waste all of your energy and your investment in something that already exists that you can just build on top of. Ultimately, yes, get it on your own platform and move those things over to something that you own, but definitely take one step at a time and don't start out day one building, a $50,000 app.
Okay, great information. Samantha asked, what about positioning in this current climate if your business is something of a luxury service? Her case would be a workplace gifting service.
Honestly, workplace gifting, I think now's the time that you need to be telling employers and everyone in business that they need to be letting their vendors and their employees and all of their partners know how much they appreciate them. You'd be surprised at how much free money there still is out there. People are tightening their belts, but they're still willing to spend money on things that are going to help secure their relationships. So I think you have to present the problem of, what happens if these people don't know that you value the relationship? What happens if they don't feel appreciated? Then what does life look like? And that's how you can position something that may be more of a luxury, but is really, I think, very important right now. This is the time to be telling people how much we appreciate and care about them, and that's a perfect way to do it.
Okay, great answer. Do you have favorite automation tools and services? You mentioned several, but are there any others that could be your favorite?
So I have two different approaches. So for my service side of my business, where we're doing consulting and building websites and that sort of thing, we use FreshBooks, which is an invoicing tool. We can set up recurring invoices there. We have it connected to WePay, so people just put in their credit card and then it charges them, or it sends out an invoice and they send us a check. That's all automated. On the product side of things, where we have ebooks and templates and courses, people can buy memberships to those. And so that runs through WordPress and WooCommerce, and then people pay with either PayPal or Stripe. It's kind of the stuff that's going on behind the scenes there.
Okay, great. Can you share any information about a founders member launch? Is that something you would recommend?
A founders member launch? Is there any more? I'm not sure what that is.
Maybe if you're just starting an organization and you're doing a founding membership, so these people get like special membership pricing because
okay. So my thoughts on that, I'm not a pricing expert. But I would definitely make sure that those people understand the full market value, what you intend to sell that for going forward, and understand that they are getting a discount. Anytime that you're offering your product for less than it's worth, people are going to treat it that way. They won't take it as seriously. They won't use it in their business as they should. If it's something that helps their business, they won't use it in their personal life, and they won't see the value in it. So you really have to make sure that those people understand the value, so that when they're going out and talking to their friends and colleagues about it, that they're also taking that value forward and not saying, oh, I got this thing super cheap, so it was worth it. They're really understanding that, yeah, I was lucky enough to get it super cheap, but I would have paid full price. I hope that answers the question. But definitely offering something to your first buyers and giving them a little bit of a discount, or something that's going to help entice them and reward them for taking the leap and giving you money before you've proven yourself, is definitely a smart idea.
Okay, great. Thank you. We still have a few more here, and I think Donna Lisa has some too. Let me get with this one. All right, this one, she wants to know, where do I find this cold calling solution?
So go and sign up for the free marketing course, and I promise you, you will get a sales email about the cold calling course.
Okay, great. Someone, Marcia asked, Heather mentioned custom websites, off topic of recurring sales. What is a good website builder to create first website?
It depends on what you want to accomplish. But I think Squarespace is probably the leader right now in things that you can set up yourself with minimal technical know-how. I would stay away from Wix and Weebly. I don't use a builder that's just through your hosting company. Like GoDaddy has a website builder. Don't use that, because they come out with a new website builder every few years, and then it breaks all the old ones. WordPress is great if you've got some technical chops and can figure it out. But I think Squarespace is it's a good place to get started. Ultimately, you don't really own that website. You're leasing it from them. So you want to eventually get to something that you own. You should always move towards owning all of your business assets, including your website. But when you're just getting started, put it up where it's cheap and easy and you can afford it, and then invest in that long-term website once you have the revenue coming in to cover it.
Okay, great. And then there are just a few that they kind of wanted specifics for the industry that they were in. Somebody wanted ideas as a licensed professional counselor, works with foster care and juvenile diabetes, and they have 2 kids with this. So what kind of thing would you offer for them?
Yeah, so I think as a counselor, you can definitely offer an ongoing, we're going to be seeing each other once a week, or however often you're prescribing for them to be seen or consulted. And so putting that onto an auto pay is really what I would do. And I would consider that to be a recurring revenue model. Now, if you wanted to add on top of that, you could always have courses for the parents and ebooks and resources that you're writing and making available, and having like a membership site for those. But initially, I would just say make sure that the people that you're working with understand that the way you work is on an ongoing basis. You can make it, all of my agreements are cancelable within 30 days. You don't have to hook them for a whole year, but make it clear that this is the way I do business. We're going to establish this relationship. We're going to meet this many times a month, and we're just going to put it on an auto bill situation. Whether you're billing their insurance and then just billing them the remainder, or however that works for your business, you can definitely set that up where it's just expected that that's just how you do business.
Okay, great. I just have 2 more, and then we'll turn it to Donna Lisa. How about a sampling service? Like, I work with product that works with t-shirts.
Product that works with t-shirts.
So it's a sampling service. So
like providing t-shirt samples to vendors and buyers, I assume.
I'm not as clear on that one.
Sure what that means.
We'll see if she will
Yeah, maybe she'll add some details so I can know exactly
a little
what we're
bit
talking
more.
about.
Yes. Okay. And then how about any ideas for pivot selling clothes online as a fashion stylist?
Yeah, I mean, I think we've seen this work for so many companies, right? You've got all of these style boxes that you can subscribe to and custom curated clothing. The key there is going to be figuring out what's your unique value proposition in that. What makes you different and uniquely qualified to do this? So maybe start with a niche, figure out who's really underserved. Maybe there's, you know, a certain subset of people who don't have as much access to the boxes that they like. Maybe they don't really like the more typical kind of girly girl clothes that would come in a typical subscription box. They want something that's a little bit more edgy and fun. So maybe you're looking at, these are metalhead chicks that also work in a corporate environment. And so we're going to curate something that's specific to them. Or I think, did she say children? No, I'm thinking she said that. Maybe do it around their style, around their budget, or just something that appeals to the parents as to why you specifically understand them. If it was kids, I may be making that up in my head, but if it was for children, I would say even adding a layer on top of that as to how you can make the clothes buying experience, even if it's coming in as a box that's being delivered, what are some ways that you can make that more of a parent-child relationship experience? So not only are we going to send you these clothes for your kids, they're going to be affordable and they're going to like them and they're going to be stylish, but we're going to include with that some tips or ideas or some ways that you can use this experience of getting this box of clothes to make a memory and make some important times with your child. So trying to think just kind of outside the box. What are some life experiences you have or some things that you've done in the past that make you more unique and give you the qualifications to take this to a different level?
So Tracy took the one, but what about I think services? Sometimes those are the hardest to a coach or a consultant. So what are some recurring income business ideas around those kinds of things?
Well, I think most coaches already have a recurring model, right? They're not just going to meet with you once and do a coaching session and you're cured and you get to move on. It should be baked into the way they do business, that this is how many times we're going to meet and what this is going to look like. And this is the service agreement of, we're going to just auto bill ongoing as we're working through together and meeting so many times or meeting these objectives. The same thing really with consultants, whether it's you're working together to deliver, a one-off strategy or some sort of session maybe that you're coming in and working with people on, there are things that you can add on ongoing. So I'll take, for instance, I work with some folks who are consultants that use the Wiley product. So they come in and they do the 5 behaviors or whatever assessments. And then for most of those consultants, they're done, they leave, and then they come back a year or two later when people are ready to do those assessments again. But in between there, they've added some really cool team building events where they bring in fun stuff. They'll bring in those those inflatable sumo suits and have people sumo wrestle and do fun live events every quarter. So you do your assessments and you learn about your team or your dysfunctional behaviors or whatever those Wiley products are called. But instead of it just ending there, they come back with refresher content that they've created, and then they pair this really fun employee event with it. So it becomes an employee appreciation / team building / continuing to build on what we learned from the assessments. So I think that's a really great example of how a consultant who typically would have worked with the business once, maybe once a year, once every 2 years, has turned it into something that's just the way they work. We're going to do this initial session, but then for it to be successful, we're going to come back in and do these follow-up events that make sure that everyone's engaging, continuing what they learned, and that we're not getting any outliers that have kind of gone off course. And again, and to make them uniquely qualified for that, they also own a company that rents bounce houses and all the equipment. So that's how they've brought together their unique qualifications with this other service they offer, and then made something that's like what no one else in the industry does.
Awesome. That's great. So do we have any other questions, Tracy?
Yes, I have the rest of the information on the one we started before.
Okay.
So she wants to provide a sampling service to people so they can purchase more of the product offered. So she had mentioned that with t-shirts, and then she'd like to provide rhinestones. Then if the person liked it, they can purchase more from her of that type of rhinestone or rhinestone design.
Okay. So she's kind of looking for a way to continue to offer that, but maybe also be able to use the samples themselves as a recurring product, I imagine. You know, I would look at what else can you maybe create out of those materials and have that as something that's ongoing, whether it's a t-shirt that you're getting once a month and then you're able to pick, I want 5 more in these different colors and combinations that I can add on to my subscription. Or maybe it's even a totally different product that she's creating out of the same materials that is smaller. You know, I'm picturing maybe like a cute keychain that's made out of some rhinestones and t-shirt material that's put onto something of more substantial back that they can see, okay, this is what these look like. This is what the material feels like. I like this. I'm going to go with these rhinestones and this color. And she could sell those things ongoing and have it as a way to upgrade to the actual t-shirt. Otherwise, I think just having something that's kind of a surprise, like tell us about you, and then once a month, we're going to surprise you with a shirt that we think is going to be your style. You can send it back if you hate it, but if you love it, then you can buy more of them.
Yeah, that sounds great. I think the biggest things I thought I took away tonight was one, you know, just get in there, figure out something simple and go ahead and jump in and do it. And I think you did an excellent job of just kind of really showing a lot of different ideas and how really we're only limited by the box we put ourselves in, and really finding ways to maybe collaborate with other businesses to provide some ongoing, you know, opportunities for income for yourself and other businesses. So thank you so much, Heather. We appreciate it so much. And thanks for sweating it out in your garage with us. We're just always so grateful for you always being willing to step in and help us out here at the Center for Women Entrepreneurs. We just want to remind you we have a save the date. Our next Women Rise is June 9th. And we're going to have a professional grant writer come in, Diane James, and she's going to go over all the details of how to put a grant together, how to write it, or how to submit a grant, especially during this time with the COVID-19, and as you know, more cities and other organizations are providing grant opportunities. So this will be a great one to attend. And of course, registration is open. And as always, once this is over, we will be sending the link, the replay link, so you'll have all of this great information. Don't forget to opt in to get Heather's free marketing course. And if that's all, we just want to wish everybody a great evening, and we look forward to seeing you next month at our Women Rise.
Awesome. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.